What's going on YouTube? This is Kid Gemini with a movie review this month, and I will be reviewing Ant-Man and the Wasp today. It is originally directed by Peyton Reed, who also made the first Ant-Man, and returning is Paul Rudd, Evangeline Lilly, and Michael Douglas, along with newcomers such as Michelle Pfeiffer, John-Kamen, and Laurence Fishburne. Let's get to the review. The story behind Ant-Man and the Wasp involves Scott Lang being called into action by Hank Pym and Hope Van Dyne in order to build this quantum device to rescue Janet Van Dyne, who has been stuck in the quantum realm for quite a long time after a mission with Hank Pym 4 decades ago went bad. It isn't until a mysterious individual known as Ghost steps into their process that she's also trying to steal the quantum device in order to cure her inability to control her superpowers, her phasing abilities, after an experiment went bad as a child. I went into this movie with no expectations after being disappointed by Deadpool 2 and also enjoying the Avengers Infinity War, but I really thought that Ant-Man and the Wasp was a great build-up to Ant-Man playing a really big, significant role in the next Avengers movie, which will be coming out next year. But back to Ant-Man and the Wasp, it's actually a pretty good, entertaining movie. Have a lot of good action, have a lot of good visual effects, performances are great, the chemistry between Paul Rudd and Evangeline Lilly is great, and John-Kamen really stood out as Ghost, and she's going to make it big next year. She was already in Ready Player One as a supporting villain. She had a small role in Tomb Raider. She had small roles in Game of Thrones, but she also is the lead in this little sci-fi action thriller called Killjoys. Have not seen the show, but I did see a few clips, and the way she filmed her action sequences involving fights and being a total badass, it just proves to her that she is capable and taking on this role as Ghost. Let's talk about the visual effects for this movie. The visuals in this movie are amazing, not only with Ghost and her phasing abilities trying to hide, but also Scott and his team, but also how Ant-Man grows bigger and bigger and smaller, and the universe, the quantum universe, is also amazing. They have a lot of strange shapes, and it looks a little bit like space, but even deeper. And the cars that you see in the movie, the ones that get shrunk and regrown, such as the Hot Wheel cars and the Hyundai cars, and so many other vehicles. It's just amazing how they were able to capture the realism of having the car shrunk down, and during the chase sequences, the villains have the bigger cars, but when Hope or Scott or Louise are riding the vehicles down to get the lab or to evade any attackers, it feels realistic. It feels like you're actually in a small car and you're just watching the bigger cars just almost run you over. And even with the fight sequences in which the other objects are being regrown or shrunk, such as the salt and pepper shaker or the little Hello Kitty candy bars just being thrown at the villains during the chase sequences, it was just amazing how the visuals were really appealing, as well as Michelle Pfeiffer and Michael Douglas's faces in the beginning. They really did a great job with the realism CGI wise and de-aging their faces during the flashback in the beginning. They just made it so realistic compared to Rogue One, in which Carrie Fisher's face just felt a little bit cartoony. So yeah, the visuals are really great in this movie. The chemistry between Paul Rudd and Evangeline Lilly is also great. In the beginning, there's a bit of a dispute between the two because of Scott's interference during Civil War, in which he helped Captain America fight Iron Man, and it caused Hope and Hank to break ties with him. But when he starts getting the cryptic message from Janet Van Dyne in the quantum world, they reluctantly let him back in, knowing that he has clues to getting into that world and trying to figure out what Janet's up to. And at the same time, as they get on with the mission, trying to rescue Janet, getting the quantum device built, and evading Ghost, their tension slowly dissolves, and they just kind of have this little comical screwing around moments, and then it eventually leads to trust being rekindled and a bond that is growing stronger on the romantic side, but also on the superhero side, in which they can trust each other and also save the world. So yeah, Evangeline Lilly and Paul Rudd really work great together. They have great comical moments, especially coming from Paul Rudd, who's had quite a background of comical movies such as Anchorman and The 40-Year-Old Virgin and role models, as well as Evangeline Lilly, who's also been in her fair share of action movies with Real Steel and the Hobbit series. So yeah, they both did a great job. Hannah John-Kamen did great as Ghost, seeing how she was really good as a supporting villain in Ready Player One. This really fit the role for her, and she just did good. She captured the fear, the loss of hope that her character was going through and trying to cure her abilities that caused her to go a little bit crazy with the quantum phasing powers, and she just really nails the role right here. You feel sympathy for her character. And I look forward to seeing more of her in more movies, and I really look forward to seeing what role she plays in Avengers, the next movie that's coming out next year, so hopefully we'll get to see more of that. Peyton Reed also does a great job directing this movie. He keeps the storyline consistent from the events of Captain America Civil War and the first Ant-Man to the point here in which Scott's helping out the team rescue Janet. And it creates a bit of a great build-up in the mid-credits to the next Avengers movie. I won't spoil what happens in that ending, but I will say that Ant-Man will definitely be playing a big role in the next Avengers movie and helping whoever is left of the Avengers to rescue the other members and hopefully destroy Thanos once and for all. So Peyton Reed did a great job building that up, but he also did a good job balancing out the subplots with Ghost and Scott and Hank and Hope. But he, along with Scott trying to reconnect with his family, he didn't forget that element, and just, yeah, great storytelling. And I really hope to see what Peyton Reed will do with the third Ant-Man movie, and hopefully keep it consistent after the next Avengers movie, or maybe do something like a standalone sequel. The only big flaw that I really have with this movie is the fact that it didn't feel like there was much at stake. I mean, yes, you have Janet Van Dyne, the original Wasp, who is stuck in the quantum realm world for almost 40 years and is trying to get out, with Hank and Scott and Hope trying to save her, but it didn't feel drastic enough. It didn't feel like there was... It wasn't... How do I put it? It didn't feel compelling or really much at stake. For instance, when you have Avengers Infinity War, in which the Avengers are trying to stop Thanos from collecting all 7 stones, you not only feel the gravity of the situation of the characters, but in the end, when you realize that Thanos is getting all 7 of the stones, and no matter what they do to stop him, he's still... and half the world disintegrates, and now they're trying to figure out how they can get to Thanos in the end. And it didn't have any of those high stakes, greater circumstances that could cause Scott to be caught by the federal police red-handed and then fall into prison for a very long time. It didn't have any of that. And with Ghost, while her circumstances were totally understandable, there could have been a little bit more. She could have been having some unexpected superpowers or something that caused her to go even more insane that will compel her to go after the device no matter what. So that's the big issue with this movie. It didn't have much at stake. It could have been a little bit more drastic and not exactly like Avengers Infinity War, but somewhere along the lines to make it more interesting. Another issue that I had with this movie was that Michelle Pfeiffer was underused. Not that she didn't need to be in the whole movie, she was only in the beginning and in the end. We could have seen a bit of her in that universe in which she is adapting to whatever quantum energy she was embracing or whatever she was going through. It could have been more interesting. It could have added more gravity to the situation instead of just leaving her in the dark and just keeping her in the beginning and end of the movie. Laurence Fishburne had quite a small role. He was given a little bit of something to do with trying to help Ava/Ghost, and it could have been a little bit more interesting to see him as a villain. Not sure why, but I get the feeling that if he was a bit of a villain in this movie more than Ghost was, then it could have been a little interesting. And I did forget to mention that Walton Goggins is the villain in this movie, but there wasn't much at stake with his character either. All he was trying to do is protect the quantum device and go after Hope and Scott and stealing back the device after business goes bad. And he did have a few good moments along with Michael Pena and T.I. during the interrogation scene, which was a little bit hilarious, but Laurence Fishburne and Walton Goggins could have been a little bit more interesting in the movie as well. So that's all I have to say about that. Overall, The Ant-Man and the Wasp is a satisfying sequel with great performances and visuals, along with good chemistry between Paul Rudd and Evangeline Lilly, and John-Kamen's performance as Ghost, a consistent storyline, and some funny moments there and then, but unfortunately suffers from really low stakes and in terms of keeping a lot of the situations at stake with rescuing Janet Van Dyne and Ghost curing herself, Michelle Pfeiffer being underused in certain scenes, such as just seeing what her life in the quantum realm was like, and also making Laurence Fishburne and Walton Goggins more interesting character-wise, which is why I'm going to give Ant-Man and the Wasp a B. Guys, thank you for watching this review on Ant-Man and the Wasp. I will be posting more this week. I will also be checking out Skyscraper. Post the comments down below telling me what you think of Ant-Man and the Wasp. If you enjoy the movie, if you didn't like it too much, hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and as always, subscribe for more content. This is Kid Gemini signing off. To 1,000 subscribers, have a great summer. Woo!